Today we're finally going onto the riverbank. We're going to go to a 4 or 5 acre pond in the Isle of Purbeck and do some waggler fishing. And the waggler we're going to use is this one that's got a hollow tip with holes in it, very sensitive float, but any waggler that takes about 3 treble A is a good starting point for these early sessions waggler fishing. This one actually takes a BB and 3 treble A as the main bulk, plus 3 number 8s. It's getting a bit battered now, looks like it needs a bit of paint, so I'm going to have to repaint it soon. I've got a float adapter at the base and a gap between the shot when I shot up. So there's about a ½ inch gap between, I've got a BB there and then 3 treble A underneath. And shotting it like that, a lot of people evenly distribute the shot around the float adapter or the eye at the bottom, and the float will hang better that way. It was a tip that when I went fishing with Phil Coles about 5-6 years ago, he told me he'd learnt from Ivan Marks. He was one of Ivan's apprentices, and that's an interesting point. A lot of people will put the shot really tight, move it so it's absolutely tight on there, and it doesn't hang as well. And this also means when you strike, the float will fold. It will fold more easily. It just waggles around a bit better. You don't want too big a gap. Don't have a 4-inch gap or anything like that. The float will be all over the place, won't cast so well. And for this early session, I've picked a swim that's around about 8 foot deep. I know the depths in this pond from fishing it for many years. There are some swims where it's over 20 feet deep when you go out 5 or 6 rod lengths. But this one at 3 rod lengths, which is about 12 yards out, it's around about 8 foot deep. So it's a nice sensible depth. And again, you don't want somewhere too shallow. You don't want to be trying to fish in 2 foot of water. If you've got a local commercial with plenty of fish in it, and there's somewhere that's sort of 4 to 5 feet deep, that's okay as well. And having a float that's a little bit heavy makes it easier to cast, and it just makes life a bit easier. Struggling to cast a too light float on too heavy line, both mistakes that are easy to make life difficult. You want something that casts easily to the distance we want. We can overcast and then wind in the line to sink the line, get it under the surface, skim and ripple, and we're fishing away. Okay, let's go to the pond and see all this in action. Now I've set up the float, I'm ready to plumb the depth, putting a little clip-on plummet on. I'm going to cast that out and see what the depth is. That's just about spot on, so we're ready to fish. We've got a number 8 shot around about a foot from the hook, another one another 18 inches above. I've got another one, I'm just going to move that one up a bit. That's about 2 foot above the hook, above the last one. It's got a nice slow drop with a size 20 fine wire. Going to fish with double maggots on this size 20, and we're hoping to catch a few skimmer bream and roach. Just catapult out a few maggots. Hopefully the ducks won't come round. Looks like we've got a bite, a very shy bite then, just tipped it under. Don't know whether it's a skimmer bream or a roach. That's another little skimmer bream. These are prone to falling off, so we'll net this. Make the net nice and slimy. When I'm casting, I'm making sure there's at least 4 foot of line from the float to the rod tip. There's more like about 5.5 foot there. Nice gentle swing out with the rod tip down in the water, quickly wind back trim the float to where we want it, fire out a few maggots, a dozen maggots. Watch the float, looking out for a nice lift bite, in case there's one on the drop. And the float's slowly settling. With just 3 number 8s down the line, it's quite slow. And now it's settled. And it's pulling through against the wind out there. There's a back toe against the wind. And now the bait's hit the bottom and it's just slowing it down a bit. And there's a fish on. I was hoping for a few roach tonight. We've had one, but mostly skimmer bream at the moment. Fresh maggots every cast. Just a couple of white maggots. Again, drop the float down, nice gentle cast. Quick turn on the reel to sink the line. A few maggots to feed. Watch for a bite on the drop. Starting to get a lot of roach and rudd now on the drop. Almost as soon as it touches the surface, I'm getting bites. And even amongst the roach and the rudd, there's skimmers as well. Oh, missed that one. Every cast I'm putting a few maggots in, and they're certainly up in the water. This time it's got past them, it's settled at last. Missed that one. Maggot's gone over the hook, and I've skinned maggot the other one. Gentle cast, feather it down, lay it in a line, sink the line, a few maggots, nice easy rhythm. There's been a bird calling in the bushes, and my cameraman spotted a grey wagtail that's been fed by its parent. Hope you've enjoyed this first go at fishing with the Waggler. Hope you've learnt 1 or 2 tricks. There's no right or wrong way of fishing a Waggler, but some ways are more effective, more efficient, less likely to tangle. So practice makes perfect. Try things out. Don't be afraid to experiment. Move the depths around, move the float, move the shot. Try moving the drop a shot nearer the hook or further away from the hook. Try moving some of the shot right under the float or down the line. Try different things. See how the float reacts and take it from there. Don't forget to keep feeding that little and often every cast. Just a few maggots in this case, and the fish will come. It's all too easy to heave in a big handful of maggots at the start, catch 1 or 2 fish, and then wonder why the swimmers died after half an hour and why you're not catching any more fish. So keep that feed going in every cast. Don't leave the float out there too long. After maybe 3 or 4 minutes, wind it in, cast again, feed again. feed, feed, feed. You don't need a lot of bait to feed a dozen maggots every cast for 5 hours. That a pint of maggots will probably suffice. So you don't need pints and pints of bait, just a bit, but it's important to use it. Next time in this series, I want to talk about catching fish up in the water, on the drop, or fishing shallow in deep water as the fish come up and feed near the surface. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Please click like and subscribe, and it's cheerio from me for now.